Hey, Jen Cave here with a tutorial on how to fix deleted nav meshes. Deleted nav meshes is not really a big thing in Fallout 4, but in Skyrim it is. You can use some of these pointers in Skyrim, so I've been told by some Skyrim modder friends of mine. This tutorial is primarily for Fallout 4 Edit, or excuse me, Fallout 4, and it is to help you figure out how to correct deleted nav meshes so that your mod users don't complain about it. The two tools that I'll be using is Creation Kit and Fallout 4 Edit. I've already wrecked some nav mesh to show you the first area on how you can fix one. Also, I will show you some tips on how to avoid them. Creation Kit is very dang persnickety, and so it can sometimes delete things when you've done everything right. So if you've done everything right and you still have deleted ones, this is how you can fix them. So let's see, Navmesh tutorial. If you're able to support the makers of Fallout 4 Edit, please support them with Patreon or any other type of donation. I'm sure that they would really appreciate it. This is an invaluable tool for mod users and makers. So I wrecked Sanctuary Exterior 6 just because it's like one of the ugliest nav mesh areas in Fallout 4. But as you see, first off, we've got an identical to master, and that's fine. Cleaning the mod will take care of that. But you can see we've got a deleted one, a compressed one, another deleted one, another compressed one, another compressed one, another deleted one, and a brand new mesh. This particular one here is one that I made all by myself just to show you that if for some reason when you are nav meshing and you end up with a deleted one and a brand new one, an easy fix for this. And this number here, by the way, 249960, that is the biggest nav mesh piece that is in that particular cell. A super easy way to fix this particular nav mesh is to write down the number 249960. And we're just going to right click and remove that record. And yes, I'm sure. And now I'm going to change this form ID to 249960. Of course, it doesn't work because my numlock is off. Let's try that one again. So 249960. Okay. And what you want to do is say okay to all this, because what this is doing is it is updating the records that are in this file right here. And as soon as I hit OK, this is going to turn dark black, as you can see. And then you say OK again. And as you see, this particular record came back, but it's dark green. This one is dark green because it updated that record as well. So for these other deleted ones, if they are like really tiny islands and stuff like that, and you just don't want them, or like using the auto generation in Fallout 4, it creates a bunch of one island triangles, or even two, or maybe even three, or it puts a piece of nav mesh or two pieces of nav mesh on a broken roof, and your NPCs are not going to use it. So one thing that you want to do is write down the number 1 ED4E9, and we're going to remove that. And the next one is, excuse me, I have a cold this week, 1ED4E6. And I'm just going to right click and remove that particular record as well. So I have compressed, identical to master, compressed, compressed, compressed. Okay? So we're going to close that out. Yes, we're going to save it. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and clean this really quick to remove that identical to master. And the auto clean function is way simpler than it used to be. It used to be you'd have to apply filters, blah, blah, blah. Now they've got a new thing, and you can just do that. So there are no deleted references. There's no identical to master records. And as you can see, that particular cell, Sanctuary 6, has only got the 4 Navmesh records now, and they're all compressed, correct? Okay, so we're going to open up Creation Kit. And I will show you those records that I had, let's see, set as active file. Okay. I will show you those records and how to deal with them if you can't reuse, excuse me, those, goodness, if you cannot reuse those particular pieces of Navmesh, like if they are on a rooftop with a, like a door portal to it, like if there's a hatch on the top, you can reuse them. But pretty much if you want NPCs to walk from point A to point B, you want it to be only one particular nav mesh. So, recent cells, Sanctuary 6. As you can see down here, there's that record that I had removed in Fallout 4 Edit and then gave that new piece of nav mesh this form ID. And you can see that there is another one that's smaller but not as large. And then there's a couple of islands. So, and 2 of them, E6 and E9, are the ones that were deleted. And let's see, we'll turn on the Navmesh panel. We're going to go down to where those are because they are all right here. It is a big cluster, and it doesn't really look so bad right this second until you view it like that. And then you're like, ugh, that's quite ugly. And if you have any Navmesh experience, you'll see that this is an unfinalized border. But this is vanilla. Even though I have finalized the borders, this is all Bethesda's work here. It's because it is one of the reasons I don't recommend using the auto generation. So let's see what we have here. Okay, this is we've got the Navmesh numbers down here, the Navmesh IDs. I'm going to move the warning down there so you can see. This one here is the biggest one, and this is the one, if you remember, I removed this record, and then I told Fallout 4 Edit that the new Navmesh that I had made was actually this number. So it's still the biggest Navmesh that is in this cell. It connects all of this, and you can see it by doing the flood fill. Okay? So what I'm going to do here is go back in here, and let's see, this one here, the 2 Tri-Island, was one of the ones that was deleted. Let's see if I can figure out which one this is. This one is the E8. This one is the E6. This is the one that's the 2 Tri-Island here. So we don't want this, right? We don't want these stray little pieces of Navmesh lying around. So I'm going to hit flood fill, and then I'm going to hit control and select one of the triangles to deselect it, which kind of is counterintuitive, but you get what I mean. I'm going to hit delete to get rid of that other triangle. And this is the time when it helps to have the this view on, because what you can do with nav meshes that you don't want to use is you can put them right up next to a collision object like this bridge here, and it will be too small and too close to the collision object for the NPCs to consider to use with their AI. So we'll just make it as small as possible. And then we'll select the whole thing. I'm just dragging and dropping. You got to be careful with dragging and dropping because you can grab a bunch of extra stuff. But just put it right up next to there. I mean, or you can even put it inside of it, or a good option to deal with nav meshes that you don't want is to just sync them. And I'm just pushing the Z key and left mouse dragging, and it's going to drag it way down underground, as you can see. And this is Bethesda's water planes. Can't even figure them out. All right, so this particular nav mesh, the 2-try-island, is dealt with because we're not going to reuse that nav mesh. If you can, that's cool. If you have no use for it, again, put it next to a collision object or sink it beneath the ground. Let's see. This one here is the other one that I had deleted. And what we're going to do is the same with that one. I'm going to go ahead and put this one I'm going to sync it as well, just because that's actually one thing that I really like to do is sync it rather than put it next to a collision object, but it both work. Okay, so let's see. Let's update everything. And this is overlapping, and it would throw warnings, but we're not talking about overlapping nav meshes in this particular tutorial. We're just talking about how to fix the deleted ones. Okay, we're going to hit save, and we're going to try and see if that helped. And we still have these other stupid pieces here, but... and which you can do the same thing. Reduce them to one triangle, make them as small as possible, and sink them below the ground, or put them next to a collision object if you're not going to reuse them. So let's see if that accidentally deleted anything because, creation kit. Go, I said. Okay, so it doesn't show that there's any deleted ones. It's just removing the identical to master. So we'll look at it in Fallout 4 Edit. Actually, I could have just looked at it there, but I'm kind of a ding-dong like that. I like to do things the hard way. Okay, let's see. Compressed, 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 compressed. As you can see, all of them, even though they've been reduced to, two of them have been reduced to one triangle and sunk far beneath the ground, they only show as compressed. They don't show as deleted at all. So let's try to go back into Creation Kit, and I can show you how to wreck it. No, seriously. There are a couple of do's and don'ts when it comes to nav mesh. You don't ever want to connect two separate nav mesh IDs to each other because one of them will show as deleted. for example, that was one of the biggest mistakes that I was making when I was first starting to learn how to nav mesh, is that Sanctuary had all of those tiny little nav meshes, and I was like, oh, I'll just connect them all together. It'll be pretty, right? It'll all be one big nav mesh. And then I had 7 or 8 deleted nav meshes, and I'm like, WTF? I didn't delete anything. I just connected them. Well, that deletes them. So that's a big no-no. All right, let's see. Back to where we were. Also, if you are working with Navmesh and you need to redo pretty much a very large area, the safest thing that you can do is, and you need to redo like an entire cell, just get the existing Navmesh piece, one of them, reduce it to one triangle or less triangles than you need to complete your project. Make sure that you update the bounds and that you save it or finalize the cell, and then work off of the piece of Navmesh. Do not drop Navmesh and then connect it to the existing piece, because that is one definite easy way to delete them. And then you'll just have to go back and undelete them and fix them. And that's not really, as you can see, a big deal, but it's just time saving. Okay. We are here. So that's driving me crazy. Ah, there's that other one try. This one is the D4EA. Okay, that's why it's such a mess. All right, so we're just going to say this particular, I'll move it up here just so it looks prettier. All right, so a surefire way to get things deleted accidentally is like, oh, I've got this tiny little piece. Let's reuse it. I'm going to hit Control A. Control, Control, Control A, which made a triangle even though it's small. There we go. Control, Control, Control A. A. Let's connect them all because there's all these tiny little pieces, right? Well, I have just connected 4 different nav mesh pieces, and that's driving me nuts. So we'll fill that one in. See, there we go. And there's another one in there. So pretty. So, anyway, we're not worried about overlapping or anything. Just that we had all these tiny little ones, and we wanted to connect them because why not use those pieces of nav mesh? And yes, occasionally it drops these vertices when you're moving the mouse around. It's okay. When you finalize, it'll clear those out. You don't want to do that. So we're going to update the cover. And then we're going to finalize. Don't worry, these yellow vertices will go away. My guess is that this is Bethesda's way of dropping vertices where they think that they might be possibly used, but they're not actually dropping them connected to the line, so it really doesn't make any sense to me. Alright, so we're going to hit save. Okay, we're going to close out of that and see what kind of a mess that we have. We're going to clean the file, and that's going to say, you've got deleted nav meshes. skipping. 3 deleted Navmeshes, which can't be undeleted. That's what happens when you connect separate Navmeshes together. And it decided to create a new record that time. Awesome. So, there you go. Oh, it deleted the biggest one again. Compressed. Deleted. Deleted. Compressed. Deleted. Compressed. Okay. So, we're going to do the same thing again. You can see there are several deleted ones. So, I already have this number written down. So, I'm just going to remove that one. And then I'm going to change the form ID. 249960. Okay. And yes, I want to update that. Okay, so you see it turned green and the white one is gone. You don't have to change it to the biggest one. I mean, you can change it to any of the other ones that's deleted. It's easier to just change it to the one that was deleted, and that way you don't have to get the deleted one and then shrink it down and then sync it or put it next to a collision object. That's the only reason I actually prefer to do this method, to get rid of the new navigation records and just make them the old ones, because of the fact that it's that way that piece of navigation mesh is not an extra one, so that you have to shrink and sync or shrink and stick next to a collision object. So this one is IED4EB. Let's see. And this is obviously not the ones that, see this one, the E6 and the E9 were the ones that I made very, very small and sunk. This one was the one that I connected to the other one. Okay, so compressed, 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 compressed. Okay. Yes, I want to save it. Open in Creation Kit again. And yes, I'm intentionally messing up just so that I can show you how to do this. And sometimes when you are working in Navmesh, you don't necessarily realize that you've done something like that until you look at it in Fallout 4 Edit. Sometimes it happens. Like, I did not realize just then that I had created a new record. But it's easy to fix, as you can see. And always, when you get done with making all the changes in Navmesh and Fallout 4 is happy, there's no deleted Navmeshes and everything like that, you definitely want to make sure that your ESP is clear of errors. So let's say we'll do that again. Come on, Creation Kit. Takes forever. Okay. Okie dokie. You can see those two little tiny pieces that I sunk already. And then when you remove a record, they're going to end up in the same exact place that they were in the vanilla game. So you'll have to drag them out again. There's one of them. And this one's the other one. Okay, let's see. This one is, yes, the 4E8. And this one is the 4, let's see. There we go. That's the other one, 4EB, that was deleted. Come on. All right, those two are the ones that were showing as deleted. So I'm going to flood fill. Hit control, select that one. Hit delete, get rid of the rest of those little tiny buggers. I'm just hitting F to drop it to the ground. And then I'm going to do the same. I'm going to hit the Z key and sync it. Wee little Navmeshes. We're on sloped ground here. But it doesn't really matter. Let's see. Yeah, that's why. Okay then. So yeah, we're just going to sync that down. And that'll be down there. Okay. So those were the two that we needed to undelete and fix. If you ever wonder why your NPCs have such a difficult time navigating in the river there, you can see why. The navigation mesh in the river area of Sanctuary is a mess. So we're going to hit finalize. And as I said, these are messes that Bethesda did. I'm just going to clear the warnings and see if there's any errors in this cell. I mean, that to me would show up as an error, even though it's not on the ESM, but well, apparently it doesn't care. These are basic warnings that that you see in almost every single ESP that has Navmesh information. So it just updates the Navmesh information. Those are that's an okay warning. Now let's see if we have any deleted ones. Okay, It doesn't say it skipped any. It's removing identical to master ones there, because whenever you finalize an area that's already been finalized in the vanilla game and you haven't changed it, then it's okay. So all of your records are showing up as compressed. So that is an easy way to fix navigation deleted records. It's not really super hard. It's just knowing how it works and knowing how to avoid them. Obviously, if you have an existing nav mesh and you want to use that one, start from the nav mesh that you're using, select two of the vertices, and then drop a third and build off of that. Don't drop a vertice and then another vertice and then connect to the original. Or even drop a couple of tries and make a few navigation triangles and then connect it to the existing one. It's going to delete the existing one. I mean, as you can see, it's not that difficult to fix them. It's just extra work that you probably don't want to do. Modding is cool and fun, but it's always nice to avoid the extra work. So I hope this tutorial has been helpful. You guys have a good one.